Hey guys, it's quote unquote your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. Um, this has nothing to do with the video, but my sinuses are really bothering me. I'm thinking that maybe I should get that sinus relief surgery because this is fucking painful, man. I don't know if I'm sick or it's allergies or what. Oh, I'm gonna need the glasses for this one. I'm sorry, did I say great commentary or a great response video? I'm going to be responding to Dbdr or whatever his name is. We're just going to call him DB for now on, at least in this video. He was, I know I've already done a response video to him before. He was pointed out to me by another commenter. I might have mentioned that in another video, and I'm really glad that he pointed him out because I've been enjoying his stuff. And it's a good, provides a good window into something I don't really know anything about, which is the Zoomer cells. I don't know anything about Zoomers. I really just don't know any Zoomers. So, like, my youngest relatives are young millennials, not Zoomers. So maybe they would know something about it. But I'm trying to think, do I know any Zoomers? I mean, other than the ones that I talk to online, and I don't even really, and that's not a lot. No, I don't. I don't think. So I understand that I've grown up in a different environment and then that they have. That there's stuff about their experience that I'm just never going to be able to understand, and that I don't understand because that wasn't my life. Um, and so I'm going to look at things differently. Is like especially this whole because remember when I was a kid, this incel thing didn't exist. There was no such thing as an incel when I was young. Um, So anyway, he's got this video. You can go look it up. It's about this bad weekend he had over the Super Bowl. Although it's really more of a bad night than a bad weekend. What he says. So he says, it starts off. He starts off talking about his manlet friend. He's got a 5'6" friend, and who's like really tries to get girls but doesn't have success. And he was saying that he was just telling a story about him, and he's like, it sounded brutal, but that's what his life is going to be, and that's what my life is probably going to be too. Like if any of us ever get relationships, they're going to be very low quality. Um, that they'll be terrible. Yeah, I don't really have any response to that other than that the video is starting on kind of a pessimistic note, to say the least. You know, I mean, I guess I know where he's saying. I would rather not respond to that right now because it's a little loaded, I guess, and there's just not enough information to respond to it. But then he says something that I thought was kind of interesting, and I know I've touched on this before. He says that he grew up with the same guy. That he's got some friends that are basically the guys he grew up with, same group of friends forever, that he's his whole life, and that he's really grateful for having them as friends, even though that right now they're really pissing him off. And I don't know if he mentions this one friend who's in the story or all of them or what. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but I'm also kind of wondering, am I coming from a place of privilege since I'm somebody who, just like I'm somebody who doesn't need relationships when I understand that most guys do. I'm a guy who doesn't need friends. And see, this one, I guess I don't know if I'm should be more sympathetic or less sympathetic because I understand that most guys need a relationship. I can't relate, but I understand it. Whereas most guys needing friends, I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure people really do need friends. And, I can think of a few examples because when I was younger, I did feel that way, that you needed friends. And I would hang out with people who I mean, not that this was normally the case, but I would prefer to hang out with people who I disliked or mistreated me or both than to be alone. Being by myself is what I wanted to avoid. And I think that's what most people, especially when they're young, but people in general, I think that's their reaction. Not just in romantic interactions, but people just don't want to be alone. They want to, be around other people, even if they don't enjoy those people's company. Um, and that was kind of how I felt. It really wasn't until I got to middle school and really in high school that my attitude began to change. My default attitude was always like, yeah, it's better to hang out around people in any given situation than to be by yourself. And but especially, I think it was the first time this happened was when I was a sophomore in high school. Had this music class or whatever. I don't know. It was something about pop music. It was like a music class, but you didn't do music. It was in the music room, but you did like about the history of music or something. And I wasn't really a huge fan of it, but I remember this time this part of my life I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. That has nothing to do with the story, but that's one thing I remember about that class is being exhausted all the time. Um, I sat with three other kids, um, and it wasn't like I disliked any of them. I liked I liked them enough to sit with them. Um, I actually, if you ask me like how I felt about them, it was fairly positive, and I thought that they were all nice people. However, being around them in a group was getting on my nerves. They were getting to me, and then one day I was just like, you know what? When I come in tomorrow, because it was two guys and one girl, and the one girl was like she was just kind of getting, snippy with me, I guess. And I don't even really blame her. I was probably being kind of annoying myself. And who knows what shit was going on with her. But I was like, you know what? Like, so I had said something to her, and then she just kind of said something like really like don't even start type thing. Like I felt like she was talking down to me, and I was like, you know what? Enough of this shit. When I come in tomorrow, I'm just gonna sit by myself. Wasn't trying to be a drama queen, but I was just like, these people. I mean, this is causing me stress, not like horrible stress, but stress. So I'm just gonna sit by myself. And I did, and there was no drama. I stayed friends with all of them, and I continued to. I mean, had I wasn't close with them before, and I wasn't close with them after. But I was friendly with them and continued to say hi to each other and stuff. And but I enjoyed the class a lot more. I know the because I was just it was just like kind of a relief to just be by myself. And then um, in my senior year, I would do the same thing a few times. Like I had these two guys who I was a lab partners with. And then I was like, you know what? You guys are getting on my nerves. I'm not going to partner with you anymore. And I just worked alone from then on. And the same type of thing happened in one of my classes. I sat next to this one guy, and I was like, you know what? Um, you're really irritating me. I'm gonna have the teacher move my seat so I don't have to be near you anymore. Same type of thing. I stayed friendly. I mean, I stayed friendly with him. I haven't seen him for a long time, but the last time I saw him, we were cool. Although it's weird that he still brings that up. I guess he took it as more of an insult than I meant it. And at least the last time I talked to him, the last time I saw him, I didn't even think he would remember it. I remember it because I remember all this shit. Again, and the two guys in my physics class who I said I didn't want to, be partnered with anymore. Again, not a drama thing at all. Like I continued to be friendly with both of them. And then I would do the same thing in lunch my senior year. I was just like, I was eating lunch with guys, and there were senior guys in high school, so they were stupid and annoying. And I was just like, you guys are annoying the shit out of me. I'm gonna I'm gonna eat by myself from now on. They didn't care. It didn't cause any bad blood. I saw some of them continue to be friendly with them that summer and thereafter. Um, so for me, that was always that was easy for me to just to like say like if people are irritating me, I just don't deal with them. And to me, that would made stuff easier. I don't know if it's not that easy for other people because my advice to somebody like him, I know we were supposed to be talking about Dbdr or whatever his name is, DB. I know we're supposed to be talking about DB. He's saying, and this is a recurring theme in his stories. One of the recurring themes in his stories is the way his friends are like getting on his nerves. And he's an unhappy person, based on this thing. And I don't know if like again, I'm not going to give him advice because I'm not there. I don't know if he's somebody who like cutting his friends off would make him more or less unhappy. Because my instinct is, it's like it seems like, you're hanging out with your friends just to avoid being alone. And I definitely saw, especially when I was in high school, I saw friends who weren't friends at all. They actually disliked each other, but they spending time with together just because There was nobody else. I don't think that he's like that with his friends, but I do think they get on his nerves. And it's like, I'm not saying your friends are bad people or anything, but are you getting anything out of spending a lot of time with them? I'm not saying, end any relationship with them. If you don't dislike, it sounds like you don't dislike them. They're just annoying you. You maybe dislike certain behaviors they have. I'm not saying like cut them off completely, but just don't spend a lot of time with them. Don't interact with them as much. I think that, I mean, again, I don't know, so I'm not making this advice, but if I was in his situation, that's what I would do. And I think that it would remove a lot of pressure that he's under. This really doesn't have too much to do with the rest of the story. A little bit towards the end, but just like, I mean, I understand that, like I said before, I understand most people need a romantic relationship, and I understand that. I don't know if I understand, but I know people at least think they need friendship, and like I'm all for those things. If you can find a relationship that's good for you, go for it. If you can find friendship that's good for you, go for it. And I would say, like, look for those things, absolutely, if those are things you want. But I think that it's a mistake to think that a bad relationship is better than no relationship, and hanging out with people who, you know, are irritating you or bringing you down is better than being alone. I think if you get to that point, it's unhealthy, and that you're damaging yourself. So anyway, now we're going to get back more on track. So he's got this Chad Light friend who's got neat bucks. He got neat bucks from being like schizophrenic or bipolar or something, or both. I'm not really sure how old DB is. I think he's like 20. I'm not positive. But his Chad friend invites him over for the Super Bowl. And DB says, I don't care about the Super Bowl. I didn't want to see it, but I go over because I thought it would be good to get out of the house and hang out with my friend. So far, so good. I think it's a good idea, especially for kind of an isolated person, to get out of the house. I know that's maybe contradictory to what I just said, but get out of the house and spend time with some other people. In and of itself, there could be an exception, which is what we're going to get to. So I think so far so good. So he goes over there and he says that his friend, his neat Chad friend, or he's more of a Chad Light, he says, never had any interest in girls in high school, and never had a girlfriend and never had any romantic interactions with girls. And not only had he not been laid, it sounds like he'd never even kissed a girl. He just had no interest in them. And then now he's starting to get into it. Now, this is like a lot of the things this guy says that DB says don't really add up to me. And it's not that I think he's making them up. It's just that I'm kind of wondering, like, either A, like how much things have changed, or B, like what the hell kind of school was he at? Because a Chad who had not been with any girls in high school would not have happened in my high school. Certainly by the end of our senior year, not even counting the summer, every Chad in my high school, every Chad in my graduating class, by the end of that year had been directly solicited by girls to like fuck them, and like attractive girls, like that every single one, no exceptions. In fact, my brother, who is absolutely not a Chad, got solicited by a pretty attractive girl when he was a senior, which he couldn't do because he was in a relationship, and that caused a huge amount of resentment, in him, and that's a whole different story. That was really weird. Anyway, I was in college then, so I wasn't around for this, and I'm glad I wasn't around to see it. But yeah, so this is strange to me. That now it sounds like his friend is not really neurotypical, not that he's a spurg or anything, but that he went through some psychological trauma. But unless this guy just wasn't attracted to girls or was some kind of outcast weirdo, which isn't what he said, which isn't what DB said about him, I can't. This story just doesn't add up. Because if he's a Chad, girls would have he wouldn't have had to pursue girls; they would have come to him his senior year, certainly by his senior year. Unless girls don't do that anymore, I don't know. And I'm not saying that the girls did this to normie guys; they didn't. I certainly didn't get approached by any by any girls when I was a senior or junior or any time. Now I got in IOIs, but like having a girl, especially like a high tier Becky or Stacy, actually like directly coming up to me and in so many words saying like, "Come over to my house after school." No, no, no. Not only did I never have that, nobody who wasn't a Chad had that. At least not as far as I know. But everybody who was did have it. And the so yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what to make of that story. But anyway, he's saying that now his friend, I guess, is a late bloomer, so to say. His friend is like, he's, needing in his apartment and he's like, "Hey, I wanted to know what sex feels like. So I went on to Tinder, started a profile, and, got a girlfriend doing that and have fucked a lot of girls on Tinder or whatever." So anyway, his Chad Light friends invites him over to the Super Bowl. And then he tells them about this stuff, about how he's started doing Tinder. And I'm kind of wondering if in this story that the reason he invited him over was specifically to brag about this stuff and flex, because he says that his Chad Need friend, spends the entire time that he's there. This is, I guess, before the game. They're playing video games or something. I don't know, because his girlfriend is going to come over later. The Chad's girlfriend is going to come over later. He spends the entire time bragging like, "Hey, yeah, I fucked a girl on that part of that couch you're sitting on. I fucked this girl in the shower," and he's showing them all the pictures and stuff. And again, I don't know if there's like something wrong with this guy, because when I'm trying to think of like when I was a senior in high school, so this is actually even beyond a senior in high school. I knew some douchebag guys. I knew guys who liked to brag. I absolutely know that there were guys who'd be like, "Yeah, I fucked her here," or they'd say something like that. But they'd say it like once, twice, three times. It wouldn't be all night long. Like I seriously don't know a single guy. I've never met a single guy in my life who would have kept doing that over and over. Now, I don't know if DB is just misremembering it, or that's really what happened. And I don't know if again, I don't know if this is a Zoomer thing or there's actually something wrong with his friend, because if he was really doing this all night long, just being like, yeah, look, I fucked her here, I fucked her here, look at this girl, I fucked this girl, I fucked, that's fucking weird. And there's something like really wrong going on there. And I guess what kind of brings me to another point. Like, I'm sorry that you can tell that DB is really hurting, and I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying that, I'm sorry that he's going through all this. But I don't know if there's maybe he's even though he doesn't come off as autistic, I wonder if he misreads social cues or has a hard time understanding other people. Because to me, if I saw a guy acting like that, DB is talking about how his friend bragging is making him, DB, feel like shit, feeling like subhuman because he can't get these experiences that he wants and stuff. But again, I understand why DB would feel that way, but isn't it kind of weird that he doesn't think at all, wait a minute, is this guy okay? What the hell is wrong with this guy? I think that's strange. And so I don't really know what to make of the story so far. So one of the things that bothers DB so much about his Chad friend's success on Tinder, is that he himself has failed so many times on Tinder. He said he's failed 1 million times on Tinder. He's failed on Bumble. He's failed on some other apps. And this is another recurring theme with DB's stories, where he fails miserably, talks about how brutal it is, talks about how it's over, how he's black-pilled and stuff. And then he continues to try the same things. It's like, well, why are you trying these same things if you already believe it's over? Now, I would be the first person to tell you, absolutely go out there and try. Put yourself out there and try. I would tell that to anybody who this is what they want, who they want to meet women or have those experiences. As long as you're not hurting anybody else and you think that this is what's going to make you happy or these right experience, go for it. Go for it and put yourself out there, pursue, do this stuff, do all the stuff he says he's been doing. I'm all for that. However, when it's failed multiple times and it continues and it failing is making you miserable, and then you either understand or at least believe that doing things one way or the other, whether things are hopeless for you or not, doing things this way are hopeless. This is something he said, that, there's no chance for me in parties. There's no chance for me at parties, and there's no chance for me on Tinder. This is something he's been very clear about. It's like, okay, well then don't keep doing it. Why are you still doing it? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? It's, because let me tell you something. This would never happen. This would never happen. But, if I knew this guy in real life, and I wouldn't offer this either, but if I knew this guy in real life, I would say, I wouldn't say this, but I would say, if you move in with me for 3 months and I would get you laid, I'm positive I could, because, even though he's a Zoomer and things are different now, but I would know, like, I wouldn't have him pursuing women the way he's doing it now. I would say that, like, the way he's doing it is clearly going to be ineffective. And I would tell it for almost any guy. He says, online dating and parties. And I get it. It's not working for him. And then, so do something else, or at least stop doing something that is not working. If you say, like, okay, well, look, there's no other way. It's like, okay, then at least stop doing what's not working and what's making you feel worse. And that gets back to another thing I would say about it is, he says later, he says, look, I'm not giving up. And look, hey, I applaud that. I'm definitely not telling you or anybody else to give up. However, what I will say from listening to your videos is, while I don't think you should give up, you sound like you need to take some time off, that you need to step away from a second. You're a young guy. You've got plenty of time. What's the harm in stepping away for a few months, coming back with a fresh perspective, because you need to get away from this and clear your head a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, then his Chad friend's girlfriend comes over. She doesn't just come over, but she comes over with a friend of hers. Now, what's really weird about this story, I know there's been a couple of things that don't add up, is that DB does not say what these girls look like at any time in the video. He doesn't say that they're like, because normally he does. Normally he'd be like, oh no, she was just a 2 or she was just a 5. He's a really harsh look rater. Like, oh, she was ugly, but whatever, like, that's good enough, for me. And, she ended up leaving with some Chad, stuff like that. He didn't say anything about their looks. And I don't know if that was deliberate, if he just didn't think about it. I have no idea. I think that that's a really weird thing to live out in the story. And I'm not trying to be subtle and accuse him of anything here. I just think it's strange, because if I was telling the story, that would be the first thing I would mention, because it would be the first thing I would notice. And I would think it would be the first thing any guy would notice, right? And it's just odd. Unless you were on the spectrum, and I don't know if maybe he is a little bit there. And again, I'm really not trying to accuse him here. I just think it's weird that he wouldn't mention it the entire time. So he says, and then he tells this, story that's brutal. He also describes it as brutal, and it's over, and it was brutal, and it's over. So he says his friend's girlfriend is sitting with his Chad friend on the couch, and the girlfriend's friend is on her phone in the kitchen thing. And Then DB then goes to hit on her. And like on one hand, you know what? I'm not even going to criticize him for it. I think he made the right decision to go after it, because the thing is, like, his friend was saying, look, she's bringing a friend. You know that friend would have come knowing that he was there. So look, yeah, maybe it's not going to happen, but why not shoot your shot? That would be an example if I say, yeah, go for it. I think he made the right decision to go for it. But he says, he went for 20 minutes trying to force it, trying to think things to say, and he wasn't getting any response. And then this gets back to another one of the problems I see. Like, you've been through this before. Why did you do that to yourself for 20 minutes? Like, I understand giving it a shot, but you're going to be able to tell you should be at least able to tell. I know a lot of guys can apparently, but if like she's not interested or flat out doesn't want to talk to you, she will make it clear within a couple of minutes. Okay? There's no need for it to go for an interaction that she's not into. There's absolutely no reason that should extend beyond 2 or 3 minutes. I don't think it would extend beyond 30 seconds, because I can tell, like, lack of interest, not feeling it, I'm out. I wouldn't even do it if there wasn't like a clear IOI beforehand, because that's always been my philosophy. And maybe I was wrong about that, but my philosophy was just, this was my natural philosophy just as a kid. This was before red pill or black pill or anything existed. Was always, if she doesn't give me an indicator of interest, she isn't interested. There's no, like, I just assume that there are no girls out there who have silent crushes on me. There are no girls out there who I'm going to be able to go and seduce with words or anything. Like, she's either got some interest in me, and if she doesn't, there's no need for me to bother her, because nothing I say is going to make a difference. And and that's probably true. Also, it would be hard for me to do anything other than that, because first of all, I'm really, well, I used to be really shy. Now I'm not really shy at all. But having said that, like, I'm not shy as in the sense that I'm okay with sitting with somebody who I don't know at all in silence. I don't try to make conversation, but I am really bad at making conversation. I'm bad at it, and I hate doing it. Like, I like talking to people, but I hate forcing conversations, and I won't do it. And I really won't do it with women. And I know we don't have a lot of women watching this channel, and the ones we do are neuroatypical, so I can say this stuff. But neurotypical women usually don't have anything interesting to say, and like, to the point that if you're not having, like, if they're not like a coworker who you're having a superficial conversation with, or a family member, um, they're not worth talking to unless you're trying to sleep with them. I would say that. I mean, I know that kind of sounds misogynistic, and it's an exaggeration. I'm not trying to say that I've never had just conversations with women, who I wasn't attracted to. I have, but I've never met one who it was worth trying to force a conversation for trying to force a conversation with. Um, with a guy, though, might have something to talk about. Like, the thing is, like, because you ever listen to what women talk about when they're with other women? Like, when have you ever heard women with other women talk about anything remotely interesting? Probably never. Probably never. Guys will talk about like real subjects. You may not be interested in it, but you could at least understand how people are. Like, I remember there was this one time I wasn't really in college, but I was back at school to take some additional classes. So I was like the older guy there. At the time I was 28. That seems young to me now. Listening to these guys who were like 20 or something, trying to talk about string theory. And the thing is, these were like, yeah, maybe they weren't quite as stupid as me, but they were total midwits talking about string theory, which means they're not, dude, you're in a physics 2 class. You are not smart enough to understand string theory. And the conversation wasn't interesting, other than just the contempt that it made me feel. That was interesting, to kind of like examine the contempt I was feeling. But the conversation was like completely pretentious garbage. But the thing is, like, if I think about the conversations I heard between girls when I was at class, and didn't even reach that level of pretentious garbage, because the stuff they were talking about would just like, like was too vapid even for that. Like that's so yeah. I really lost the thread here. So I don't like forcing conversations. But anyway, so he goes and I think he made a real mistake here. I think I applaud him going after it. I think he showed a lot of guts. I admire the way that he hasn't let rejection slow him down. I really do. I really am impressed that he went and gave it a shot. But to be doing it for 20 minutes shows an incredible lack of social awareness, a huge lack of social awareness, and a huge lack of self-respect. Like, yeah, go for it, but like when you see she's not interested, I mean, just for manners, leave her be, and B, for your own dignity, just cut out. It's just weird, and this is like this guy. Like I said, he's suffering a lot. You can tell that, and I really do feel for him. But I think he's bringing a lot of it on himself. That if he could just make like slightly better, just with a little bit more social awareness or a little bit better decision making, he could ease some of the pressure that he's under. Um. So yeah. So anyway, so he leaves and he goes back to the couch. And his friend is and his friend's girlfriend are just cuddling there. The game ends, and his friend has to drive him home. So I really don't know what was going on here. I don't know why he didn't just drive himself. Maybe he doesn't have a car. It's really weird. I don't know. But anyway, so his friend's driving him home, and he's talking to his friend. I think from that he's complaining about how things didn't work out with that girl. That's the impression I get. He never says that he's doing this, but that's the impression that I get. That he's complaining that things that he's talking to these normie types saying like, oh, this girl didn't like me because I wasn't good looking enough or shit like that. And he says that his friend's trying to either blue pill or red pill him the whole time, saying like, oh no, man, you just weren't confident enough. Maybe you did this, maybe you did that. And then a DB saying like, dude, what are you talking about? You were there. You saw this happen. You know that there was nothing that I did. Not only that, you have seen me fail multiple times and laughed at me about it. So you know that there's nothing wrong, with the way I'm doing things, that it's just my looks. And that the guy was saying like, oh, no, it's not your looks. Something must be something else. And, that's weird because it makes me wonder, like, I've been like doing this black pill sphere for so long. I just assumed that, there was the blue pill for boomers and the red pill for copers, but that Zoomers essentially, if the ones who hadn't bought into the red pill, weren't coping with the red pill nonsense, all believed in the black pill. I just assumed that everybody was black pilled now. And it really doesn't appear that's the case, at least not from his stories. It seems the other way around, that people are just as blue red pilled as ever. Um, and I think it's because the the normies are like physically incapable of understanding the black pill, which is really surprising to me because the black pill is nothing new. The black pill was before World War II. Literally everybody in the world was black pilled. Since the beginning, whenever civilization started, whether it was 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 2,000, whoever, I don't know when they're dating what the first civilization is. Can debate that. We'll leave that to the archaeologists. But as long as there's been recorded civilization, up until 1945, everyone was black pilled. And then the blue pill came about later, and then the red pill in reaction to that. And but it seems like normies just can't understand it. They it just like doesn't process to them. They can't get it. Which is interesting. I don't know what that's about. Again, I would like to point out that in a lot of Asian countries, like India, I know India is technically an Asian country. A lot of sub-Saharan Africa, in those countries, that again the black pill is just considered a fact of life. I guess when you're deal with more poverty, you kind of understand it better. Um, Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, like India, the black pill is practically in their religion. The I know that, now they're, because of the internet, some of their young men have, have been red pilled, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. That's really strange, and I can't explain it. And he talks about this. He's saying it because that, other than these videos are the only chance he has to discuss this kind of stuff. He said he can't talk to anybody, not his mom, not his friends, about his relationships, his struggle to get a relationship, and his feelings about it, because every time he says something, all he gets back is blue pilled garbage. And on one hand, I can understand where his friends and his mom are coming from, because if somebody starts telling you shit like, "Yeah, I'm not good looking, so I'm going to be alone forever," like what can you really say to them? Like, you can be like, you can either be like, "Yeah, okay, it's over," which I don't think most, certainly a normie's not going to say that, or you can be like, give them some blue pill bullshit, right? What else can you say? I mean, you can't have a conversation about it because normies aren't capable of understanding it well enough to have a conversation. So, but I mean, it's so not only is he suffering from what he's going through, but he's suffering in the fact that he just got nobody he can talk about it with. I don't know if talking about it would necessarily make him feel better. I think that he's maybe needs to stop talking about it so much, but I understand where he's coming from. And then he says the thing that he's not giving up, and it sucks because him not giving up is making him miserable. And this goes back to what I said earlier. I think that I agree with the not giving up, but again, you're young, you've got time. If it's making you miserable, I can tell it is, you got to step back for a bit. Okay, you got to step back for a bit. I'm not giving you some bullshit red pill, blue pill, work on yourself thing. I'm saying get away from this shit for a while. Okay, you can do it. You can, like I said, you don't have to cut you if you want to keep going. Even if you want to keep doing your normie shit, like hanging with your friends and going to college parties, okay, you can do that in 3 months. Just take some time off. Take some time to yourself. Stay away from the black pill shit on the internet. Stay away from, talking to your normie friends. Stay away from the college parties. Don't talk to your mom about this shit, or anybody about it. Just focus on, like, you've got other copes out there. Focus on video games. Focus about learning stuff. I'm not saying you need to sit there and meditate, but just go and do your own thing and give yourself a break from this. And then here's what I thought was the strangest part of a story that has been kind of strange overall. The next day, so he was already feeling like shit. And I'm going to assume, or at least I was assuming at first, sorry, that mouse has been there the whole time. I guess that was probably distracting. That his friend, like, I don't know if his friend knew that it was bothering DB, that he was telling all this shit and he was getting off on it, or he just knew and didn't care or didn't realize it. I don't know. But here's the thing. This guy, I know whatever's going on with his friend, because obviously there's something weird about him. The next day, he sends DB this picture of him and both of those girls in bed, like waking up in bed with them, and him saying like, "Yeah, hey, I fucked these two girls and stuff." Okay, this one, I don't care how socially unaware he is. He would only say that to twist the knife in him, to twist the knife. I mean, that was deliberately to flex on his friend. And I don't think it was from, again, I don't know the guy. I don't think it was from any sadistic desire to hurt DB. I think it was just because this friend of his is so addicted to flexing, to doing, like, to boasting of his superiority. And this is what I'm about to say can be easy to misinterpret. I want to be clear that I'm not saying that what his friend is doing, sleeping with all these girls, I don't know if they're attractive or not. I'm not saying that those things are making his friend unhappy. Okay, I'm not. I mean, I know that there's a lot of guys who are into that and have fun doing that, and it makes them happy and whatever. I'm sure he's enjoying himself. I'm not disputing that. However, what I will say is that people who are happy do not do stuff like he did there. If you are happy, you do not send a picture of yourself in bed with two girls to a guy who you know is really distressed about his own romantic struggle. That is not something a happy person does. Um, with the exception would be if you were actually like a sadistic happy person who got off on the suffering of others. But I don't think his friend is sadistic. I think his friend is just a typical person who's trying to gas himself up. Has a need to feel superior. And I think I may do a video about people's the need people have to feel superior to others. Um, that was really concerning to me. In fact, at the end of his story, I felt more sorry for his Chad friend than I did for him, because again, I know this guy's hurting, but there are different kinds of unhappiness, and I think that the kind of despair that his Chad friend is going down the road to is much deeper and much darker and much worse than what DB is going through right now. And again, I'm saying that without trying to play down DB's situation. Now, yeah, again, I was a young man in a time where there were no incels, and even if there were, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much as it does these other young guys, because again, I'm aromantic, so that makes it a lot easier. Um, but and I say I've never told anybody, and I never will, exactly what it was that bothered me so much in college that drove me to eventually a suicide attempt. But I will say that it's something that, if I mean, I wouldn't tell anyway, but it would be hard for me to explain exactly what it was. But I do think if I was able to explain it, that black pillars would be the one people who would understand. It would be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that, if I was able to like properly convey what it was that distressed me so much. And so I can relate to where he's coming from. Like the feeling of just incredible hopelessness. Not the kind of existential hopelessness I went through last year. Now that was the super black pill. That was way worse. But when I was young, I didn't know that yet. Just like DB doesn't know it yet, and I hope he doesn't ever. Um, but yeah, what were we talking about again? Um, Something about his friend. Oh yeah, I felt worse for his friend. Something's wrong there, and I would actually say to DB, this is I don't know what it's like with his other friends, but again, I don't know too much about this guy or your relationship with him. But if a guy is doing something like that, like when he knows you're hurting and he's flexing on you, I know that he's got his own. This Chad friend's obviously got issues, but I really think you've got to ask yourself, if is this somebody who you want to have a lot of contact with? I don't know if it's good for you. I think it's not good for you. I think it's not healthy for you to be spending time with this guy or being in close contact with him. I'm not saying be a drama queen. I'm not saying cut him off completely, but I don't think it's healthy for you to be spending a lot of time with him. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next. Now.